Hello everyone, this is G and I'm back with another video. I'm really tired today. It's been a long day. It's been a ridiculously hot day. I am not made for the hot weather. I'm a winter baby. I'm a mid-January baby, so this weather I'm just melting. I'm just melting just by merely existing. But I hope everybody is well. I wanted to just briefly cover this. First of all, shout out to Eric July, Young Ripper 59. It's through his tweet that I came across this petition. Now, I'm going to be perfectly honest here from Jump Street. I don't like this guy. I don't like Elliot Scheirman, however the heck you say his name. Now you may be wondering, why don't you like him? Well, simple. He's a politician. To quote Liquid Snake from the Metal Gear Solid game, he's no warrior, he's a politician. And anybody who's been on my channel for any amount of time knows that I have a strong dislike and disdain for politicians, regardless of party, uh, school of thought, or anything like that. If you want to be politically active, that is your choice. I respect the person's right to choose. And that's actually something is something I'm going to touch upon a lot in this video. The right to choose and the right for things that you don't agree with to exist. But I do not like politicians, right? And I especially don't like politicians when they try to deplatform other individuals, right? But you see here it says Elliot Scheirman for Congress in Texas 2nd District, giving a voice to those who want to live their lives free from government control, retire the duopoly. I'm assuming he means the main parties of Democrat and Republican. Interesting that he wants to give a voice to people who want to live their lives, but he wants to deplatform a fellow libertarian whom he seems to have some sort of ideological disagreement with. Right? So I already have a negative bias against this individual, so I admit that up front. I am by no means a neutral, right, or in any way sort of like a outside party, right? I have a bias here, and my bias is negative. My bias is against this individual, so I admit that straight up, straight up. Right. So as you can see here from this tweet, right, that Mr. Shireman tweeted, and that Eric July called him out for, and then some. He says, libertarians should not promote bigots in any capacity. Please consider joining me in this petition to uninvite Thomas E. Woods from speaking at the LP, I'm assuming that means Libertarian Party, LP National Convention. And then you see this image saying Libertarian Party, say no to bigotry, say no to Tom Woods, and we get this image of him at some event where there's a bunch of Confederate flags. I can't speak for anybody else, but I personally am not bothered by the image of the Confederate flag. Perhaps it's because I'm, a northerner Yankee. The flag doesn't bother me. I know that it bothers other people, but for me personally, I just look at it as just a symbol of the old South. It has no bearing, in my opinion, anymore. It's literally the flag of a dead country. The Confederate States of America didn't last. But I know a lot of people take issue with the flag because of what the Confederate States represented, and they fought to maintain slavery and all this other stuff. But that's a conversation for a different video. But let's look at this change.org petition, right? So it says here, remove neo-Confederate Tom Woods from speaking at the 2022 Libertarian Convention. As you can see, 223 people at present have signed, well now 224 as I speak, and they're trying to, and now it's 7. It's growing. And now they're trying to get it to 500, right? So let's see what this actually says, right? And you can see here at the bottom, right? Elliot Scheirman started this petition to Libertarian Party inbox Libertarian Party, right? So it says right here, right? This guy quite literally started this petition, right? But let's see what it says here. Here's what it says. Here's what he most likely wrote. The Libertarian Party has long supported freedom and justice for all. And yet now you try to deplatform someone, but okay. We took the controversial stance in support of marriage equality 40 years before the Democrats did when we founded our party in 1971. We support immigration and condemn bigotry codified in our platform. Read more, and then it gives this link. I have no idea if the link works, don't care. Who we give a stage to should reflect our values of justice, respect for individual rights, and of course liberty. Which, Mr. Scheirman, is exactly why you should give Mr. Woods a platform. Which is why you should not have this to disinvite him. Because guess what? Values of justice and respect for individual rights and liberty would also include allowing someone that you disagree with on ideological grounds to have their piece, to speak, to be heard, and to allow people to respond to them in kind. You talk about the stage being a reflection of your values of justice and individual rights and liberty, yet your attempt to disinvite this man quite openly seems to show that at least you as an individual may not value justice, respect for the individual, or rather the rights of the individual, and liberty as much as you say. You say one thing, sir, but your actions show something else. There's a word for that. Begins with the letter H, but I can't think of it. Maybe you guys in the comments can let me know. The word escapes me. Hypocra, something. But anyway, moving on. This week, the LP Convention Oversight Committee voted overwhelmingly to grant a guest speaker role to League of the South founder Tom Woods. A contributing reason libertarians are often stereotyped as just Republicans who like weed. But I thought that was the truth. Anyway, Woods has pushed bigoted rhetoric, helped found a Confederate hate group, and currently attempts to push the party away from one of liberty for all. I find it interesting here, how he, highlights these words, right? He puts in bold font these words: bigoted rhetoric, Confederate hate group. Yeah, he doesn't, and I've read the whole petition. He doesn't give the name of the supposed Confederate hate group, and he doesn't give any examples, at least in what's written here, of this supposed bigoted rhetoric. So now it continues stating, this is a man who described the Confederacy as Christendom's last stand and argued that today's immigrants are not remotely assimilable, and that a society composed of huge population subsets from different races and criminal propensities cannot function properly and peacefully. Well, here's the thing, sir. First of all, you're asking me to more or less take it on faith that Mr. Woods actually said these things. You're also asking me to basically believe what you say and believe that this man is a bigot simply because he said these sentences, supposedly, without any content or context as to what he was talking about when they were said. Sir, I am too jaded to take things, especially from a politician, on faith. Because you see, sir, I have no faith in you. I have faith in a lot of things. I especially have faith in God. But you? Nope, not at all. I have no faith in your abilities as a politician, and most importantly, I have no faith in your honesty. You're a politician, sir. You have an agenda. And I doubt that agenda allows you to be honest. But anyway, continues. I call upon the national leadership of the Libertarian Party to uninvite Woods and anyone else who promotes bigotry, ethno-states, or supremacist views. Would that include people who are not white? Because guess what? There are people who are not white. There are people who are black and Latino and others who have bigoted ethnocentric or or supremacist views. So, do you say this for everyone, for anyone or any group that has these views, Mr. Scheirman? I would imagine that you're probably Jewish, given the last name. So, are you saying that no one should have these views, or are you saying only white people shouldn't have these views? Because see, I view it as no one should be. Ideally, no one and no group should be bigoted, ethno-state, or or supremacist. It leads to very bad things in the end, especially if people who have those viewpoints get into serious positions of power. But anyway, he says here, let me read this again. I call upon the national leadership of the Libertarian Party to uninvite Woods and anyone else now, who promotes bigotry, ethno-states, or supremacist views from speaking at our convention or representing us in any official capacity. Here are some examples of why Tom Woods has no business speaking at LP events. And then he puts down a bunch, 4 links that I will admit I have not checked because, again, I don't trust this individual. And to be honest, I don't care. This isn't really about whether or not what he says about Mr. Woods is true. The reason I'm making this video is because Mr. Woods has the right to speak. Mr. Woods has the right to exist. Now, do I believe Mr. Scheirman's account of who Mr. Woods is as a person? No, I don't. I have no reason to believe him. I have more reasons to not believe him and to not trust him than I do to believe him. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, that Mr. Woods is indeed everything Mr. Scheirman says, that he is indeed everything as described here in this change.org petition. Let's assume that he really is a neo-Confederate and bigoted and all this other stuff. Guess what? Even somebody with reprehensible views has the right to speak, and they should be given a platform. Now, of course, people have the right to, challenge what they say, and you're certainly not obligated to agree with Mr. Woods. And if you are so offended, you can tell him off, you can walk out the room, you can turn your back, you can tweet about it, you can make a video, you can do plenty of things to, what's I'm looking for, express your displeasure, right, with what Mr. Woods says and represents. Speaking of which, again, I don't think it's much, but this is apparently his website, and here's what he says about himself. Right, Thomas E. Woods Jr. is the New York Times best-selling author of 12 books, including The Politically Incorrect Guide to American History and Meltdown on the Financial Crisis. Woods, who holds a bachelor's degree from Harvard and his PhD from Columbia University, has appeared on MSNBC, CNBC, Fox News, Fox Business, C-SPAN, so, mainstream media. And whatever else, right? So naturally, this is Mr. Woods' website. Naturally, he's going to put his best foot forward and make himself look good. So this is, how do I put it? This is obviously has a slant and an agenda too, to make Mr. Woods look like, I guess, authority, right? An expert on what he talks about. Like, look at all these shows I've been on. I am too jaded for all this foolishness too. But let's say, for the sake of argument, that this is true, that he really is a bigot. As I was saying before, he has the right to speak. You have the right to disagree. You have the right to tell him off. You have the right to challenge his assertions. No one's saying that you can't respond. But unless there is a real threat of violence, right, from either side, either people protesting it or people, supporting it, you should not deplatform people. You should not disinvite people just because you disagree with what they say. What's interesting is that, and I pointed this out going through it, right? He says that Mr. Scheirman says that who we give a stage to should reflect our values, yet he violates those values by trying to get Mr. Woods deplatformed, right? He even says here, right, that he wants to give a voice to those who want to live their lives free from government control, yet he tries to act in a way like government control by getting this man deplatformed for what he claims. Again, right, he started this petition, so he most likely wrote all this. So we're supposed to believe him and only him, right? Because he claims that uh, Tom Woods is a bigot. And even if he is, which I don't think he is, I have no reason to trust Scheirman, but even if Tom Woods was a bigot, if anything, you should give him a platform to speak even more. You should be trying to get him on as many platforms as you can. You know why? Because if he's constantly talking and he's talking foolishness and nonsense, more people should hear it. So that more people can go, this guy's an idiot. Get rid of him. This guy's an idiot. I'm not going to listen to him. Right? How do I put it? Right? I guess the best way I can describe it is this. Think of like a court case. Right? Think of like, a courtroom. Right? You have your let's assume it's a jury trial, right? So you have your jury of your peers, right? You have the judge who has the final say, more or less, and then you have the defendant, right, and the plaintiff. Now, what do the defendant and the plaintiff have? They both have attorneys, at least one, right? And what's the attorney's job? The attorney's job is to advocate for their client, to try to convince people, such as the judge and the jury, to see in their client's favor, to rule, to judge in their client's favor. So they make arguments, right? And they present evidence and they bring in experts and they do all these things to make a case, to prove to you that my client is innocent and this person is guilty, right? Or whatever else, right? Whatever it is, right? It's an adversarial nature that gives both sides representation, gives both sides a chance to speak. Imagine if somebody were were accused of a crime, dragged to court, and they were not given an attorney, but the plaintiff was, right? And not only were they not given an attorney, but the judge says you can't speak. You cannot say one word in defense of yourself. You cannot present one shred of evidence to argue before me or before the jury. You must sit there and you must take it. You cannot have a voice here because you are the defendant. You are the accused. Would that sound fair? Would that sound just or right to do that, to create such an uneven playing field as to not give a defendant an attorney and not allow them to in any way speak for themselves? I don't think that sounds fair. I don't think you, dear viewer, think it sounds fair. But in my opinion, this is more or less what Elliot Scheirman is trying to do. Take away Mr. Wood's platform, at least in this particular instance, so that he cannot defend himself. He cannot explain himself. He cannot present evidence to explain what he believes and why he believes it. Right? Now, of course, Mr. Scheirman, if he speaks at this, right, he would no doubt, have all the evidence and all of the time in the world to, say, Tom Woods is a bad man and here is all the proof as to why. But he doesn't want to give Mr. Woods the chance to respond. So you try to disinvite him, right? Not fair. Not fair at all. That is not just. That is not just. That is not respect for the individual, and that is not liberty. There's this saying, there's this famous saying, right? that I may not agree with what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it. And I think that people at all levels need to remember that. Because, see, sooner or later, the people who try to silence others will eventually either A, get silenced themselves, or B, they will try to silence you, right? They will try to silence you. And I sent a tweet to Mr. Scheirman asking him, how would you feel, if Twitter banned you, right? Haven't gotten a response yet. Don't think I will. Because people like Mr. Scheirman, people who believe that you should just deplatform because you feel a person is bigoted or whatever, they believe that they should just be removed from the square, from the public square, from the public forum, just removed from the discourse post haste. I also covered this, or decided to make this video, because it reminds me a lot of the useless, senseless drama around 6 Days in Fallujah, which had, I'll say, similarly themed complaints against it, saying that that the game was gonna teach gamers to, hate brown people and hate Iraqis and kill and all this other stuff, right? All this other stuff. And last time I checked it, which was before I made this video, over 16,000 people signed the petition to cancel 6 Days in Fallujah. Now, it hasn't reached the 25,000 they're looking for, but still 16,000 plus people think it's okay to cancel something because it offends their fifis. It offends their personal sensitivities. And that is just something I cannot agree with. Now, you want to ban somebody because they say have a history of violence or inciting violence? That's one thing, if you can sufficiently prove it. Because then that's a safety issue. I understand that. But just because the person has supposedly bigoted views, as Mr. Wood said himself, right? This book on the politically incorrect guide, right? So let's say it's true and he's politically incorrect. And politics change all the time. What is considered acceptable changes all the time. These things aren't set in stone. They are not static. They are dynamic. They are constantly changing. And there could be a day, Mr. Scheirman, not too far from now, where you might find yourself on the opposite end, where it might be a petition trying to get you uninvited from a particular convention or conference because of your beliefs and positions. I doubt you would like that. I doubt you would like that. But here's the thing. It's easy to parrot something. It's easy to say, I stand for justice and rights and liberty. I stand for truth, justice, and the American way, right? I stand for the individual. I stand for the rights of every person. It's much harder to actually believe that, to actually practice that, right? To actually take actions that would show, hey, you actually really do believe in these things. Because, as I said earlier, in my opinion, if you truly value justice and liberty and the rights of the individual, that also means you have to allow things that you do not like to exist. Whether it be in entertainment, whether it be in politics, whether it be whatever else. If you truly believe in these things, then you have to understand that things or people or belief systems or whatever it is that are personally distasteful to you have a right to exist. I don't like politicians, but Mr. Scheirman has a right to exist. I'm not going to, try to get his Twitter pulled or anything, or try to get him deplatformed, because I'm not threatened by his existence. His political career irritates me because he's a politician. I don't like them. But I'm not going to do anything to try to harm the man in some fashion, right? To take something as precious to him as his ability to speak his ability to have a platform, his ability to reach people from him. Because while I am far from perfect, and I can certainly have a temper and a potty mouth, I actually do believe in justice and respect for the individual and liberty and the right to live your life as you want, even if it's in a way that I personally disagree with. I believe in that, right? Live and let live is my general approach to things. So long as you're not hurting others, I don't much care. I may disagree with something you do. I might say it's wrong. I might caution you. I might say, hey, don't go down that road. Don't make that decision. Don't date that girl or that boy. They're going to break your heart. But in the end, I'm not going to take a platform from you. I may disagree with what you do or what you say, but I will defend your right to speak your mind and to speak your truth. I will challenge you on those things if I feel it worth challenging, but I will not take away or attempt to take away your right to express yourself, because that would be antithetical to justice, respect for rights, and liberty. But anyway, that's the video. Please let me know what you think, and I will see you all on the next one. Please let me, let me know what you think. I'm repeating myself now more than I usually do. Please let me know what you think, and I will see you all in the next one. Have a good day and night wherever you are. Bye.